Hey everyone, Gooey here. Hopefully you are all out there enjoying this winter. We are currently on holiday break, so for the next few weeks, we are going to have some special programming coming your way. Still some podcast episodes coming out, but it's going to be a mix of things, both stuff from some of our other shows and our appearance on some other shows, but they're all on brand. So if you haven't heard them already, I think they're going to still be a treat for you. And you should probably go check out the shows each week that we are featuring. And if you have, well, I'm sorry, but hopefully it's a good chance to revisit some of these topics or shows or what have you. So to get us started, I'm actually sharing an episode here from last December from my movie podcast that I do with my buddy Adriel, friend of the show. You may know from some of our crossovers and our Trek logs, but on our show Movies That Whip, we covered On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which was sort of the start of McKenna and I's collective Bond Trek that led to our GoldenEye episode that we did in the summertime. And it's we did it then because it's sort of Christmas themed. There's some original Christmas music actually written for the movie itself. Do you know how Christmas trees are grown? Check that song out. It's a banger, as they say. Anyway, hope everybody is having a good winter season. Like I said, stick around. We've got some other great shows, crossovers, and whatever coming your way. So other than that, I guess I want to give a special shout out to our Millennium Star Tier patrons. We really appreciate everyone who helps support the show in whatever way they can. And we've got a lot of good stuff for you over on our Patreon, patreon.com/flashback64. Obviously just listening to the show and sharing it helps out a lot. But if you want to see, we've got some extra goodies over there. If you want to go chip in $1 or $5 like these people have. So thank you, Darren. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Jeremy, Kiefer, Nico, Paul, aka Quaid, and Lee. We really appreciate it. And yeah, actually, you know what? Here's the rest of the gang. Here's also our superstar tier patrons. Thanks, Adriel. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Michael. Thank you, Green Miner. Thank you, How to Lose at Video Games. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Minneapolis King. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Skirvo. And thanks to everyone else who's on there for the free tier and whatever else. Yeah, okay, here's the episode. Enjoy your holidays. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another festive episode of Movies That Whip. I'm Gooey, here with Adriel. Hello.
That's me. If I had a cool last name and I would do a James Bond thing, but I really don't. My name is way too many syllables and not cool enough. So, but hello.
Yeah, you need just a really quick bum single syllable.
Yeah, totally. You can't have 6 or 7 syllables floating around in your whole name.
Happy holidays, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know when this is gonna come out. It'll come out sometime this month, so hopefully,
yeah.
There's a lot going on. Hopefully, we get it done before Christmas
I think
or whatever.
So. Yeah, I think we will. Yeah, happy holidays. It's
happy holidays.
As of this recording, it's in the middle of Hanukkah for our friends who celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little before Christmas. And this I totally forgot until about halfway through this movie that it was also like kind of a Christmas movie, which is I think why you picked it. But it
Sort of,
it totally I forgot. I completely forgot until it was happening.
It kind of serves a lot of purposes, and I hope you don't mind. But one, I was like, yeah, okay, it takes like I was thinking, I wanted to maybe change it up, because it's been fun to return to directors, but I was like, we instituted the rule of just like switching and picking, and then we both kind of talked about trying to pick things from different time periods to like branch off so we can learn even more of film history.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, let's try to get something older and maybe something Christmas related, though. If we didn't watch a Christmas movie, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. And then I saw this on a list, and I was like, you know what? This is a movie I really like, that I only saw like for the first time last year, to be honest. But I was like, yeah, I'd love to watch it again. And then, I'm sorry, but I was also thinking about months down the road over on Flashback 64.
Heck yeah.
We're going to be covering GoldenEye.
Nice.
And,
okay, so it's a little crossover prep.
Right, yeah. So I thought it'd be. We're gonna actually. There's a lot of. We're planning a lot of episodes pertaining to it, and so I thought it'd be cool. This is kind of a like spoiler, but I was thinking, we're probably gonna do an episode that maybe talks about the franchise or whatever, the greater James Bond as a whole, and so I thought on the way there, maybe every once in a while. We could dip in because I've seen a handful of Bond movies, but I thought, we're gonna be talking about them on the pod, and I was like, maybe me and McKenna could watch a couple. So it all kind of just, the stars kind of aligned, and I'm sorry that I'm using this pod for the good of another pod.
I love it. I think that it's
I did it with virtual theater recently too.
It's mutually beneficial. I think this is exactly what multiple pods should be used for. I think this is cool.
Sweet. Okay, so I did watch this with McKenna, and it was a good time. But yeah, we're gonna get more into Bond as a whole over months. It's months away at this point, but over on Flashback 64.
Man, I feel like we should call in McKenna and see what she has to say about some of this movie. I'd be interested. This movie was fucking wild, dude. Like, I don't know. I was not expecting what I got. But no,
okay.
I do. If McKenna's within earshot, we'll call her in for a couple things. But I will say, okay, so I think that maybe before we talk about this movie, which is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. That's the name of this film. It's from 1969. And I think that before we really talk about it, I am interested in your kind of history with James Bond, or what you know about it, which is I'm sure eons more than me. I really don't know very much at all. I mean, obviously everybody knows what James Bond is. But I feel like this movie was really shirked a lot of those expectations, because I didn't realize that it was so campy. I really did. I didn't.
Oh, extremely, yeah, yeah, it is. They and almost all of them are, to some degrees. But I will say, it's kind of similar to how and even more so because it's been, it's been going for around the same time, but I guess I'm thinking in modern movie standards, but it's similar to how I don't know, you'd watch a Batman movie and there's a movie that's The Batman or whatever, and then there's also a movie Batman Returns, but there's also Batman and Robin. There's such a wide, there is kind of they're all to some degree silly. Even the most serious Batman movie is extremely silly in my opinion. But obviously there's different sort of Bond actors for one, but then even within their runs they've done, of Bond. Like they've all had various degrees of, like, some are just full all out like goofy, and then there's some that are more serious, you know. Even in Craig's they're all more serious, but like some of them are like the dumbest of all the movies. They just try to hide it, you know what I mean?
I also like didn't watch a lot of like Austin Powers, but like I knew what it was,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
It's so like obviously part of the like zeitgeist and a part of like the cultural currency of the 90s and early 2000s.
So some of the backstory to this is actually, so this is the first one that did not star Sean Connery, like of the
okay, so this is the
yeah.
first one that didn't star him. Okay.
Yes. So the Bond movies, like as we know them, are produced, I believe, by this production I think they're called Eon Productions. Ever since the first Sean Connery one, and they it's been like, I think it was first Albert Broccoli was the producer. Now it's like gone through the family basically.
And this is the person with the last name Broccoli, yes?
Broccoli,
as
yes,
in the vegetable broccoli.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
There are actually a few, there's I think at least 2 Bond movies that are not through them. One that predates all of them. It's slightly older. It's called Casino Royale. Actually, it's also an adaptation of Casino Royale. And then there was one made much after Connery's tenure, where he actually came back and played Bond. And it was it's part of the non-Eon lineage. So it's, you know, there's not really much of a that one's slightly closer because the original Casino Royale didn't star anyone or like have any connection, but that one at least had Connery. But anyway, this is the first one in their lineage of like kind of what is thought of as sort of the official series to star someone other than Sean Connery. So when they were going to adapt this, part of the intention is they were trying to make a story that was supposedly, I haven't actually read any of them, but what I understood by reading is they were trying to make a closer adaptation to the books than the other movies. So in the other movies, there's like the previous Connery movies, there's like things that are now associated with Bond, like gadgets and things like that. And this movie, you'll find there's no like gadgets or stuff like that.
There were a few gadgets, I would say.
A few gadgets, and I think they pop a few jokes at the gadgets.
Yeah. Well, it was okay. So this we're gonna get into something later about what was a joke and what wasn't. It was something that was like incredibly vexing to me. But we'll get into that later. I will say some of my favorite parts were the weird gadgets. There were only a couple of them, but I really liked them when they appeared.
Yeah, typically there's like, you know, in a lot, I have like, you asked my familiarity, like I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a handful of them from all the performers, and then like everyone in my like lifetime I have seen. I think McKenna's coming in now, actually, if you want to get McKenna's take.
Yes.
Do you have a... Hey, welcome, McKenna.
Hi, McKenna.
Hold on. McKenna can't hear you yet.
That's okay.
But now I think... Can you hear Adriel?
Yeah.
I love this. This is fun. It makes me feel like I'm like in the field doing like field interviews. This is really fun for me.
So we were talking about how we're covering GoldenEye later, and you and I are probably gonna watch a handful of Bond movies throughout the years, you know, over the next few whatever months leading up to it. But Adriel was really curious just about do you want to give us a quick, I don't know, like a brief review of what you thought about On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
Yes, give us this like the cliff, like just whatever you feel like
it might
saying.
Set up our conversation well.
So first off, Diana Rigg is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
We love Diana Rigg.
I wish there was more of her.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that my my taste in Bond movies is mostly based off the Bond girls, because the other one, my favorite Bond movie is Casino Royale.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's the one people hold up as like that's the other that's a pretty much a pretty common opinion these days, is that like yeah, these are the good Bond girl movies, like with the most interesting female characters. I haven't seen them all, but I kind of agree with that too.
Yeah, yeah. Watching one where like the Bond girl is named Pussy Galore just kind of takes me out of it.
Yeah. There's a part in Goldfinger where he's, Sean Connery's at some resort, and his female companion, her name's like Dink or something like that, and he's got to go over and talk to Goldfinger or some guy, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Man talk," and he like smacks her ass or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, geez."
I mean, I felt like that a lot in this movie, but I wasn't quite sure what was a joke and what wasn't. I found it like pretty hard to tell, and I just sort of was like along for the ride, and I felt like a total like alien. I was like, what were people thinking when they made this movie and when they were watching it? Like, what was the like? I had no idea what the expectations of the time were.
I think this one was mostly above board in that regard.
It's like Austin Powers does not have to like change much to parody.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
It's so close.
Okay, yes, and here's another question. I'm so glad you're here for this. Okay, so is now I think undeniably Diana Rigg is like the peak of this movie, both like within the movie and just like at watching it. I feel like she saves the day constantly and is like constantly driving the getaway car. Like
yes,
making
so
all
awesome.
the right,
She's
making all the
saving
right moves.
Bond,
yeah. Even from the very beginning, like the first scene when she's like, ostensibly gonna go drown herself, she like takes off without him and is like, "Get out of here, man." So is Bond supposed to be like a hapless loser?
No.
Okay.
So
well.
That was actually a big part of the like there was sort of a negative reception when the movie first came out.
Okay.
One, because George Lazenby was an actor who was kind of just pulled off the street. Like the legend is, I think it was Albert Broccoli was getting his hair cut and saw him or whatever. And he was just like a model doing like commercials or whatever. And I think he had like, I read he wore the same watch as James Bond or something. They're like, this is a handsome stud. Like, let's get him in the movie. And then part of the criticism was like that Bond is sort of like a hapless oaf, and George Lazenby doesn't know how to act. But I think it's kind of turned around in the years where it's like, I think it actually makes his version of the character like kind of interesting in this movie. Because he's sort of like knows how to just sort of navigate the situation, he kind of lets a lot of things sort of happen to him.
Totally.
But even then, he still has to be kind of saved, But I think it actually really works, and having an actor who is already so accomplished working alongside him, like it's sort of meta in a way, but it kind of really like makes the characterization of the two believable, I think.
Wow.
What do you think?
I do love like he just seems to know a bunch of random things.
Yeah.
Just like
yeah.
He knows about the bug or butterfly or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, some other stuff, and then when he's
that's his job,
when he's traveling in disguise, he's like all researched up on
Totally.
He did his research on the genealogy or whatever, and I thought actually he did a great job of like putting on the different voice. Like he did the little like nerd British voice when he was there. Like I think and I think I don't think he gets enough credit. I actually think he was great in this movie.
He has a few pretty good jokes too. I think.
Jokes, yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Well, what'd you think about this? One's a little over the line, but in the opening scene. So, like I said, this is the first one. that's not Sean Connery after he did a handful of movies.
Oh.
And he has all this stuff happen to him, and he goes, "This never happened to the other fella."
Yes, that's breaks the fourth wall right away. Yeah, yeah. I loved that part. I thought that was right. I thought that was way under the line. That was like, I felt like that was when I was like, okay, this movie is getting, this movie is doing something that I wasn't expecting it to do.
Yeah. Okay, we'll let you get sleep. But
right.
Adrielle, is there anything else you want to know from McKenna about the movie?
What was your favorite? What was your favorite part?
Yeah, your favorite part.
Yeah.
There's one really awesome scene. It's got to be that scene, right?
There's the right answer.
Well, there's a lot of awesome scenes.
Yeah, there are a lot. I want to say something with like Diana Rigg.
Okay, well,
Like,
can I
it's hard not to
suggest
say.
one, and you can say if you agree?
Yeah.
The stock car chase scene, I think, is so awesome. It's so amazing.
Awesome.
Like
that's when she's driving the getaway car.
She's driving the getaway car, and they pull into like where the race is happening, and there's some awesome just stunts and car crashes and stuff like that. That was just such a thrilling.
Cool,
the skiing was so awesome because it goes from like the corniest like looking shot of them, like, you know, with just the rear projection or whatever they're doing, but then like genuinely cool, like people like jumping off like big drops and stuff. So it's really it represents almost like the tonality of the movie, where it goes from like really goofy to really impressive in like the same like minute, you know.
I also really liked the stock car scene because it plot wise, although plot sort of is like no object really in this film, I would argue, but he had just like, he was in love with her, she's his girlfriend, and then he like goes off to this mountain retreat and like bangs these other random people, and then he's doing his job. Okay, he's just doing his job, and then she shows up and he's like, boy, do I love you, or whatever. And then she just drives this getaway car, and there's these shots of him just sort of sitting in the passenger seat and her like actively driving around. It's like this, it feels like so purposeful the way the whole thing played out. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah. I bought that he was in love with her. Like he was just like, felt like he got swept up by her, you know? That's cool. You normally don't see that because Bond is usually a bit more... I mean, there's different characters you could go over in all the movies, but, you know, he's usually a bit more of the dominant sort of character, you know?
Yeah.
Well, McKenna,
all right, thank you for your guest appearance. We really added some spice here.
Oh, thank you.
There'll be more Bond on Flashback 64 coming sometime in 2024. So we're going to watch more of these movies, and we'll report back.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All
right.
Bye.
Okay.
How fun was that?
Yeah, that was podcast history right there. So yeah, like I was saying before we were rudely interrupted, so this was like, and I'm going just based off of like what, you know, I have limited knowledge as well, but I did read like that this was, you know, meant to be more of a closer adaptation to the book. They said it was pretty, you know, as far as the story following that stuff. And so, you know, the books have slightly less things like the gadgets and stuff. Normally in like a Bond movie, you'll have a whole scene where Q, who's like their gadget guy, goes over all the fun gadgets. Like, you know, you would probably remember from Austin Powers.
Right, yeah.
But in this, you know, MI6, the characters there are actually in it, but like he really isn't it. He kind of just shows up at the end a little bit too. He's in the beginning, obviously, but yeah, it's not as big of a role for that sort of thing. So it is kind of a unique story, and I think that is an element that you see a little bit more in the Craig movies too. Like they were going for, they're more serious for sure. But if you think back to Casino Royale coming at after the last Brosnan movie, which was like goofy gadgets and wacky stuff galore, it was more serious. There weren't like gadgets and things like that. So I think that aspect comes off in the Brosnan movies, or in
So
the Craig movies, and I think McKenna mentioned, like the romance element. I think they really took from this. Actually, in the last one, in No Time to Die, I felt like there were parts that felt like they were trying to do this. They were trying to hit more at the this part of Bond, I guess, the romantic part. But also in those, they also incorporate. I think Craig. There's elements of some of the other Bonds and stuff too that we won't get into that they try to incorporate. But I think you can see. I think this movie does actually have a lot of influence on that.
I wonder if the books are like super campy as well, or
Yeah.
if they're serious.
So from what I understand, the books are, I think, I feel like they are more pulpy. I haven't actually read them, but I know that well, this probably won't surprise you, but Ian Fleming, the author of them, is kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much.
Yeah. This is a big. I actually have to attribute some things to my good buddy Connor, who's an even bigger Bond head, who I've watched a lot of these movies with him. He kind of pointed out to me that a lot of these are sort of, especially as time goes on, like Britain's attempt to like feel cool still.
Yes, I felt that like very acutely while I was watching it. I was like, this feels. It's so like I mean, it's like a caricature of British of like British sensibilities, in a way that like also sort of subverts them, like the overt like sexuality, and like it's heavy-handed in like its cultural placement,
For sure.
So
yeah.
it totally feels like a the British attempt at like being cool like during the Cold War.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot too in movies where there are like more like American characters and stuff like that. They usually try to make sure that he seems cooler than like his American counterparts and stuff like that. And there's something, I don't know, I kind of like it actually.
Yeah, it's like pretty charming.
There's like a big like event at the end of the last one, the No Time to Die, and there's like a part where they're like, oh man, like we need to ask like the United States or like China, about doing this or whatever, and they're like, no, we have to do it. And it's like, they just like, can you imagine like this world catastrophic situation we're in, and it's like, yeah, the British Secret Service they're
like, you know what, guys, we gotta do it, let's take it into our hands.
It's time for Britain to stand up. Yeah. Anyway, that's not this movie though.
No. This movie, I feel like the pacing was like totally crazy. Like it felt like a fever dream. Like I really had to just kind of like let go and just see where the movie took us, because I could be wrong, but it felt like the kind of main plot at the beginning was basically like this crime family and this woman who Bond, kind of is supposed to fall in love with and does fall in love with, but then it like totally shifts to like this other guy, and his plot to like, ruin the world, and I wasn't lost, because Bond like is a very simple like formula, like kind of what's like coming, but
I think that might come from the fact that it is like they are sticking closely to a novel adaptation, and so perhaps like something that might work like structure in a book might maybe it could actually use some altering for the film to like make it work better.
Interesting. Yeah.
I do like, I kind of like I feel like everything that happens I think is kind of interesting in the movie, and like most scenes, like like they're like, I don't feel like, I don't have that opinion that's like there's like useless scenes or anything like that, but like I did sort of feel what both of you were saying, like where there's like a period of time without Diana Rigg, and she kind of just comes back into the movie, and it's like, for me, it's like, no problem, like, cool, she's here. But that part, that part without her you do kind of feel like, oh, it's sort of like strange, like that sort of.
Yeah, it's like it feels like a totally separate movie, or that like she's just gone. Like for a while I was like, maybe I missed something, and she's like they broke up. Like maybe he never mentions her. There's never any sort of like, well, obviously he wouldn't mention her as like he's undercover, but like there was no mention of her at all in the movie, and I really thought like, okay, maybe she's like she's gone, or there's something happened that I missed. But no, he was just undercover, like, banging some other ladies out in the mountains.
Yep.
Just doing his job. I mean, and that seems like this is part of the hapless thing, is that I feel like now I could be wrong, but at the beginning he kind of like randomly saves this lady.
Yeah.
And then which is, whatever. And then he like sees her again, and then like there's some sort of thing where someone tries to beat him up, whatever, and then they like sleep together, and then he meets her dad, and the dad is like, I need you to like try to get my daughter out of her slump because she's suicidal.
He's like,
she
needs
help.
A man to dominate her, he says.
He says she needs a man to dominate her, and to like and he says I wish I had it written down, but he's like, she needs to have sex enough that she loves you. I was like, this is so what a graphic like thing for your father to say about you. But
right. But I was also like, this is the type of guy who would think that. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. But see, okay, so this goes to the type of guy thing, because from the very beginning, Bond is just kind of, it seems like his MO is like fucking. Like, he's like, you know what? Hell yeah. Like, I want to bang your daughter. Like, hell yeah, I want to bang these girls, like, at this mountain retreat.
Oh, no, I think, to defend him a little bit in this movie.
I mean, listen, I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm just saying felt like his primary motivation throughout the whole movie was that.
Well, so maybe, I think possibly this might be a little, so there are certain things that like if you're like not as familiar, the movie maybe doesn't fully get over like the importance of. So in the beginning, he's looking for information about Blofeld, who's kind of, as a character, he's sort of like the arch villain of James Bond. He's like, he's not in all the movies, but there's many movies where he is like the primary villain. Actually, in the previous movie, this is like a fun continuity thing. In the previous movie, like, they met face to face, so he should like theoretically recognize James Bond when he goes to visit. And actually, they considered like, oh, well, maybe we like make him wear more of a disguise or whatever. And then they were like, you know what? It doesn't matter. And they just decided not to explain it. Because
I love that.
So, but anyway, in the beginning, so he basically is trying to catch this guy. He wants to kill him. And the guy's like, I'll help you if you, it's sort of a, how in I keep forgetting it, the Taming of the Shrew adaptation movie. I guess it's like that story too, a little bit, but the Heath Ledger one, there's sort of a
10 Things I Hate About You.
I guess it's like, I don't know, it's sort of that situation where he's kind of like trying to do a deal a little bit. He's like, yeah, I'll do what you want, like I'll hang out with her if you're giving me this information or whatever.
Okay,
but I think,
see that? Yeah, that was a missing plot. So it did feel like I walked in on like the second episode of a TV show.
Yeah,
and I kind of did. Okay, so that does sort of clear things up slightly.
And that's what the whole thing about, like, they want to retire, they take him off the mission because it's this thing of he's been he's been hunting this guy, and he's not having any luck. So he like lightly goes rogue. Like Bond goes more rogue in other movies, and this one he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna quit. And they're like, you know what, you can have some a leave of absence.
Yeah. Moneypenny sets him up with a leave of absence instead.
Yeah. So
Moneypenny was great. Yeah, I loved her.
Yeah, this is the so this would be the fourth film with Blofeld, I believe. So
and is that the same actor?
No. So this the actor in this movie is Telly Savalas, who is also known for playing Kojak. I don't know if you know that show. It's a 70s crime show. But in the this is actually the third actor who's portrayed him. I think it's, what's his name, Anthony Dawson in the first two that he's in, From Russia with Love and Thunderball. I'm looking at a chart now. And then in
chart.
In You Only Live Twice, you actually have Donald Pleasance playing him, the great Donald Pleasance, known for Loomis for me, and I guess he's also in Escape from New York. Anyway. So yeah, this is like the third actor even, but that's what's interesting about the continuity. You mentioned Moneypenny, so the actress who played Moneypenny, a lot of the MI6 cast here are in Moneypenny. She plays Moneypenny in the first 14 James Bond movies.
Holy shit! The same actress?
Same actress through 1985. For M, the head of of MI6, he plays him in the first 11 movies.
Damn, yeah, he was great. I thought both of them were dynamite, even though they weren't in the movie very much. I liked both of them.
And then even more so, the actor Desmond Llewellyn, who played Q, he played Q in 17 of the Bond movies. So from 1963 to 1999, he played Q.
Hell yeah.
So there's a fun bit of continuity, here, where they're like, yeah.
So canonically, canonically, right? Okay. So first thing I will say is that I actually do really appreciate that there's. It sounds like the franchise is sort of not taking itself too seriously in terms of the lore or whatever. I really appreciate that, especially as a modern viewer. Our whole we're so inundated with lore and franchises and world building and blah blah blah. I just really like that it's kind of close enough. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like Bond in vibe and pretty close. You guys will get it. It kind of gives us a little bit of credit that I think is
yes.
I don't know, sort of generous in a way.
I like that. I mean, there's a little bit we talked about how you didn't quite know about the Blofeld thing, but I think overall a lot of the movies I have seen, even ones that directly reference, there's some that actually reference a character or something from a different actor's previous Bond actor's movie. They'll bring it back. In fact, they've even brought back characters besides the main cast to be in another one with a different actor later on. Yeah. And there is that stuff, but overall, what I love is that they are just kind of the continuing adventures of James Bond. And that was kind of the worst part of the newer ones for me, is that they tried to have this overarching continuity, and it was no, this is too, it's too silly almost. It's trying to be very the seriousness of it was it was too dumb. I think too dumb. Mm-hmm. Just keep it simple.
Don't take yourself too seriously here. So is this so in these first couple movies, Lazenby is supposed to be the same guy?
I guess so. Yeah, but
because that's Blofeld should have recognized him or something.
Yes, yeah, that's okay. That's what they were concerned about. There really wasn't there wasn't a hard as you can tell by the fact that they just decided who cares. It doesn't really matter. But he's supposed to be, yeah, like this, like they've had, for example, there's a movie where he goes to Diana Rigg's grave, I believe. I could be, don't quote me here. And then I believe there's actually one movie I really like where they bring, so like many actors have also played the CIA character named, Felix Leiter. And there's actually one Timothy Dalton movie, I believe, License to Kill, where they bring back the same Felix who was also in one of the Roger Moore movies, and he's just then he's a character in the movie, and it's just like, it is what it is. So it presumes almost that same thing. You have Judi Dench go from the Brosnan to the Craig, and they don't treat them like they're different people,
Right.
There's all kinds of like dumb, sorry to offend if anyone feels this way, but like dumb fan theories I think out there of like, well, like 007 is just the code name, so they're all like, maybe James Bond is a fake name or whatever. It's like, no.
Whatever. No.
It's the same guy. He existed in 1963, and he existed well into the 2020s, I guess. Or
2013 or whenever it was.
Yeah. Because they in Casino Royale, they even treat it like, they actually say, I think it's like one of his first mission. You know what I mean? It's just like, whatever. Who cares? Judi Dench is here. It's the origin, but it's not, whatever.
Yeah. Are there any Bond movies? And sorry, I'm asking this.
That's
like
okay.
Kind of
I feel,
look,
I actually wish I had Connor here. We're gonna have him on our Flashback 64 where we talk about the wider franchise. So I'm
sweet.
I'll
I'll listen, and exactly.
But I can answer some, because I've seen I don't know, a third of them. Well, actually, probably more, because I've seen like all the ones in my lifetime at least. That's probably like a okay amount of them, as well as a handful of the older ones.
Well, my question, I guess, is like, so part of what makes it feel sort of like kind of what you were saying, like almost a Monster of the Week like type of format, like just the like wacky adventures of James Bond, du jour, is the fact that like it seems like the movies are all like they all take place like in the present, right? There's no like movie that's made now that is it from 1945. It's set in 1945 or something.
Right.
Like,
yep.
It's always like, it's today. It's Bond. He's getting weird. Whatever. Right. Like it's like always of the time. And like this movie was like the most 1968, 69 movie I've probably ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah. That is very true. That's something actually that even becomes, I think more true with at least some of the ones I've seen. And this is something, also shout out to Connor, that he really pointed out to me, is that a lot of them really lean into the genre conventions of the time, So like I would say even up till this point, like a lot of them, like, I mean, they do that to some extent, but like they overall kind of have a similar like spy, espionage, thriller or whatever. But as the series kind of goes on, and certain like movies or whatever kind of become big hits, you do sort of see the Bond movies try to incorporate stuff from other genres or like other hit films, and sort of like I guess you could say like steal things from them, but you know what I mean. They're like whether they're adapting, some are like they're adapting a book that fits in that sort of realm, but a lot of times they just take a whole sort of concept or I guess just vibe, and try to adapt it, So you've got your Moonraker, I think came out after Star Wars, so it's like sort of, let me double check that, 1979 film. That's gotta be Star Wars inspired. Or you have, so you just have like movies like that are sort of trying to catch a fad, you know what I mean? So it is
This
sort
one
of
felt like it was like it. This one felt. I mean, it just felt so informed by. It just. It was
Mhm.
like exactly the '60s kind of
I
style
yeah.
and sensibilities of the time, and like, you know, it's funny because 1969 is such a sort of tumultuous time, like
Yes.
for the whole world, where it was like all of these revolutions were happening, and then we've got fucking James Bond, which is like, and
Well,
it feels like a little bit unhinged, like it's sort of like kind of grasping at like what is like the sort of like old ways,
100%. Yes, and that
while still like being real, like you can just sort of feel the pot like boiling over in the movie, you know what I mean?
yeah, I think this is yeah, I guess that, like I don't know much about everyone that comes after this, but I feel like this is maybe the one of the last ones that is clinging to that. And I think I actually got that impression just based off of I think that's how George Lazenby felt because before before the movie came out, he was like, I'm not going to do another one. And he showed up to the premiere, like he grew a long beard and long hair and stuff, and
Oh man.
he was like he was like trying to go against it. And I think because there was that sort of like all the countercultural stuff at the time, like like actually that aspect sort of like that I think they have some of that stuff even in Austin Powers. They try to reference that sort of like era of like the counterculture, sexual revolution, things like that. And it's like Bond is actually like kind of a square, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, so that's, I don't know. I think that's kind of cool actually, because you do watch this and it does have, it's got this paranoid sort of plot of, we're gonna brainwash all these sexually free women into poisoning the
Mhm.
world. That's a fun
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Right. And like this like uh sort of that like the women like cannot be caged, right? Like they're sort of trying to like infantilize them like at this research facility, these like
Hmm.
sexy women, but then they like, they can't be like tamped down. They like all want to like leave and they all want to fuck Bond, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah. They
and
they
there's like
really concerned
something
with
sort
his
of charming.
balls.
Yeah. It's like it's so like silly and like I mentioned previously I was like I can't tell what's a joke and what's not. Like and not in a bad way, but I was like
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of just like like
What?
for example, like when we watched Out of the Past, I felt like I was never like lost on like what was
Mm,
like what the viewers would have been thinking at the time, right? Like perhaps there were a couple of things that I don't even know that I missed, but overall I was like I follow this character, I follow these plots like it's all checking out. Whereas this I was like are they joking about like the about him being like sexy or is he actually sexy? Like I
hmm.
totally can't tell, which is why like Austin Powers like it just is it's like you
Oh,
like
yeah,
McKenna
yeah.
said, you really don't have to go very far from this film to get to Austin Powers. Like it's almost exactly the
Hmm.
same, you know?
Well,
So yeah, I did have kind of a hard time being like, is what's a joke and what's not a joke, you know?
maybe it might be your read on because I'll go ahead and say it. I thought he was sexy, so
Wow,
I never
good.
read it as a joke.
There's something for everybody out there, man. Good for
Yeah,
you.
I think he's a good looking guy. I think they weren't joking. I think they were, into it. And that's okay.
That's
So you
cool.
mentioned this before. It was sort of not my other like defense, but it's actually something I sort of really liked about this character was okay because you saw him earlier. Uh, Diana Rigg kind of falls in love with him or whatever, and I think it's he because of how he responds to her. You know what I mean? In fact,
Hmm.
it's sort of the 10 things I hate about you thing where without as much of the drama between them, where like she can probably tell like what he's being tasked with, but he's actually being very like chill and like not he's like not dominating her or whatever, you know? He's just kind of like
sort of, he's not even pretending like he's just sort of like, well, like, yeah, let's hang, you know?
Yes.
Like,
he's straightforward. Then when you see him when he's doing the seductions later, and I love that this comes off. That's actually where he seems more of like the confident guy or whatever. And I thought it was so interesting because it felt like, especially because you had the scenes where he said the exact same lines to the same woman.
Loved that.
That it felt like he was just kind of going through something that he said a million times before. Like it felt like he's both like acting in the moment, but he's also like using kind of just like a tool that he has, you know what I mean? Like, okay, like I have to get in there. I have to, you know what? It's a hard job, but I got to have sex with these beautiful women. And I've got kind of the, you know, the Swiss Army knife of lines to feed them or whatever. But I like just kind of those lines to me read as just like going by the script, especially because he repeated them, and like not really as charming compared to how he was interacting with Diana Rigg, if that makes sense. So I kind of actually, I don't know, that was cool to me, seeing him be these two different ways. I felt like he did come off as more of the, like he came off as like, yeah, he's doing the charming Bond thing, but it was like slightly awkward, you know? And I guess,
yeah, it felt like a sex comedy, you know, just like, oh, like I can't think of them, you know, but like it's just sort of like it's just like it's like it could have had sound effects like whoa boy, yeah. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing was just like so silly, which like adds to, like, it was like very Pink Panther, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a little Pink Panther.
It's the same kind of vibe. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's like that was why I was like, I don't know who's got the egg on their face here.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
Again, not in a bad way. I just was like, because at this point it's so the movie is like so sort of dreamlike in various ways. It's very like visually, like it's beautiful, like this, like the like location shots are like unbelievable when they're like at the bullfighting ring in Spain for kind of no reason, like not no reason, but like they didn't have to be there, you know.
That's a cool thing about a lot of the Bond movies, is that they kind of globe trot and show off different locations and have very beautiful scenery, you know, with Switzerland in it and everything. Yeah.
It made me like want to do winter sports, which is never words that have escaped my lips, but I've been like skiing and snowboarding like once in my life, and I was like, hell no, I'm never doing that again. But watching this movie, I was like, I could go skiing. Like I kind of get the romanticism of like, you know, having hot chocolate at the ski lodge kind of. I get it now.
It was very cozy for a while. Yeah.
That's why it's it is like a Christmassy kind of movie. It's because it's these like beautiful shots of Switzerland and, you know, skiing down the mountain and having like hot toddies and stuff. It's like, it got me. It really got me. But yeah, it was very, very dreamlike. The whole movie was. That's why I was kind of like, I don't know. If I don't know, it doesn't matter. Like it really, and the movie like kind of held my hand in a way that just was like, it doesn't matter. Like it's okay if you don't if you don't totally follow.
I think some of the props that I would give to it for cinematography comes from the fact, well, first of all, the cinematographer, Michael Reed, who I think did an awesome job. He did, I think, a handful of. He did Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice. So, already a long sort of legacy there. But also the director, we gotta shout out Peter Hunt. Also did second unit directing on the previous Bond movies. And one thing I read that everyone said about him was they really liked, he kind of, at least for the Bond series, sort of innovated more of a fast-paced editing style of like the action scenes. So they let him direct a movie, and this is the only one he did, but I think the two of them did an awesome job. I read a little bit. I wish I had the quote here, but there was cool info on how they got certain like big shots they got with like the helicopters, and like how they actually rigged up the cameras to shoot them. I don't have it, but it really, like, the movie does really show like its beauty in both the cinematography and I think just kind of like, I mean, the pacing you said is weird, but I think it does kind of just like keep moving. Like, it's over 2 hours long, but I feel like there's not really a part where it's like this kind of drags. At least I don't think.
No,
maybe a little bit when he's going to talk to the genealogy guy or whatever, but that was kind of fun too.
Yeah, like, if anything, I feel like that section, I suppose, could have been shorter, just because I got like sort of lost in it, because I was like, wait, maybe he just like lives at this research facility now. Like, I kind of lost the plot there, but it didn't feel like it like dragged on, you know. It just felt like it just was like I enjoyed it, and I kind of got lost in it, you know.
Mm-hmm. I did overall, like, the plot for me actually it all kind of comes together in the end, for me, because I was thinking like, okay, it's got this weird genealogy sort of aspect of it, and I thought, okay, I guess it's sort of like it's like a supervillain, I think, kind of thing, that he would want to like take over the world and like take this title of this, you know, old medieval lord, you know. But then by the end, when it's like, no, he wants to, like, you know, he's holding him hostage, and he kind of just wants like amnesty, and he wants to just go live out his life you know, with this title. I like how that just be like, that kind of like was an extra added little bit of spice into his plan, that he's like, yeah, I'm gonna retire, and you know what, you're gonna like me, I'm gonna have this prestigious title, that's how it's gonna be.
When he's talking to Tracy's her name, right? Yeah,
Tracy. Yeah, I've had a hard time remembering everyone's names.
Diana Rigg. Yeah.
Tracy's
Tracy's a weird name for that character, but
it should have been something sexy, you know what I mean?
I know, Tracy is like kind of a strange. It's a very 1960s name though, but like he like, his charms like kind of worked on me a little bit. I was like, man, Tracy, like, he just wants to hang out, and like, he'll probably treat you really well. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe you should consider it. He seems like kind of a, like, he's I don't know. And at this, like, I wasn't, I'm not anti-Bond, but I was kind of like, whatever, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is your future instead of James Bond. This could be good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, why not? Why not?
Why the hell not? He's driven. He's got a plan that like is working pretty well. So I don't know. I feel like it could be good for Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And she wouldn't have died at the end of the movie. Okay, that was the real shocker. I was like, wait a minute, because like I like paused the movie thinking there was like half an hour left, and it turns out there was like 3 minutes left of the whole movie, and I was like, oh, it's almost over.
Oh,
that's at the
good.
Wedding.
That's a good
sign. They get married.
Moneypenny is really sad, and I thought you briefly. I kind of blew past it earlier, but you mentioned Moneypenny, and she was awesome in this. Like, she truly loves Bond. It's so cute.
Yeah,
they have a very flirt. I love their flirtatious. Like, at first I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be like nasty, but it's like, no, they have like a fun. They like each other, you know.
It's flirtatious and like totally like.
It's very inappropriate.
like crazy way. Like he comes into the office and then he just like grabs her ass and she's like, "Hell yeah!" And then she's like,
They're
they're
so
both
horny,
into
yeah.
it. They're
Yeah.
both like, "Yes," and he's like, "Oh, like, do you want to like something?" And she's like, "I wish you would." Or
She's like,
whatever.
please. She's so horny. And at the end, she's fucking heartbroken. And I was heartbroken. I was like, damn, she loves
I was like,
him.
you should just build a life with Moneypenny and let Tracy go off with Dr. Evil. Like, come on. Like, this
Anyway,
would have been.
sorry, I didn't
But
mean to cut
okay.
off.
I loved Moneypenny. I really
Yeah.
thought but so yeah, she was very sad when he was getting married to Tracy, and so I knew like, okay, well the credits are gonna roll at any minute now, and they stop on the edge of the road. I don't know, to take a leak or something. I don't know why they stopped, but they stopped, and then
It reminds me of the backstory in Austin Powers 3, where they their dad just randomly stops at the side of the road or whatever, and he gets killed. Like, that's the backstory for Austin Powers and Dr. Evil or whatever.
this
And
is
it's just
well,
like
that's basically what happens here.
he stops
Like
to take a piss or whatever.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then the Blofeld, the evil guy, just comes up and like shoots her in the head, shoots at open fires at Bond and Tracy, and then Tracy dies, and then um, and that's the end. And then a cop shows up, and then Bond pretends that she's sleeping, and then that's the end of the movie. I was like,
He's
wait
like
a
sad.
minute.
Yeah.
He's like kind of sad, and then he's like, well, like, what is the last line of the movie? It's iconic, I'm sure.
He says, well, he says like she's fine, she's just sleeping.
But then he says
Let's
like,
see.
we'll always have tomorrow, something like that. Like
Yeah, we have all the time in the world or something.
that's what it is. We
Yeah.
have all the time in the world, and I'm like, no, you fucking don't. She's dead, and then the credits fucking roll.
He's stunned. Yeah.
He's
So
stunned.
I believe I had read that was something they were gonna do in like the next movie or whatever.
Okay.
I could be giving you fake news here, but I think they're maybe gonna do it in the next movie because they're like, Bond's gonna go off and do other stuff. He can't just have a wife.
Yeah, I mean,
Which-
it does make sense that she has to get killed off, but then at that point, what?
But I think
Maybe the
then,
idea is to set up Blomfeld as like the continuing beef that they have. Like, oh, you killed Tracy.
I think at the end of it they were like yeah, I think maybe because the director wasn't going to come back or something, they're like, whatever, let's just do it in this movie. I don't know. I do think it probably would have been a better start to the next movie, but they sort of I think there was sort of like there's a negative reaction to this sort of movie, I think even like while making it, it probably seemed like something might have been off or something, because they kind of pivot hard, and in the next film, which they say he will be returning in. Did they say Diamonds Are Forever? I can't remember actually, but the next movie stars Sean Connery again. They were like, okay, fuck this. Sean Connery's back.
Wow, I didn't know that they went back to Sean Connery. Okay.
Yeah, so I think they were
Wow.
sort of, they were kind of pivoting back. So I feel like, I don't know if that happened during the making of this movie as much, but yeah, I don't know.
Man, I would not be surprised if there was all kinds of weird behind the scenes shit that had to do with why this movie felt so fucked up because it felt crazy, but then part of that's probably me not knowing the Bond series, not knowing what happened before or after. But I don't know. Again, it totally felt like a standalone movie. But I just wouldn't be surprised if there was some weird shit that was going on in the back of this.
I'm actually reading now, about the production for Diamonds Are Forever, and they were working on a script that would have him avenging her or whatever, but then it sounds like after after Lazenby left or whatever, they were just like complete rewrite basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it was kind of random, but I actually had read too that the director like did a whole thing where he brought Lazenby early before they filmed that scene, and they're like, we broke him down, like they did their best to get him to kind of give a really sad emotional
performance.
I think he does okay. I think it's okay. I think it's a little, it's like it's kind of sudden. It's kind of random. I think there was like a brief part cut where Irma Bunt or whatever, Fraulein is chasing them or like stalking them, but yeah, it's for sure a weird pacing to the movie overall. I would agree. There was a couple things I wanted to mention, like, well, we already talked about the opening scene, but I thought it was just interesting because like there's sort of you know how like Bond movies, like they have their like conventions and stuff that people compare like the Bond girls and the gadgets or whatever from movie to movie, kind of like we would as like in like the Zelda community, like your favorite dungeons or items and certain things compare certain ways or whatever. But a big thing is a lot of them start with sort of like more like a big thrilling like cold open. A lot of times they'll have like a big stunt or something like that, and I just thought it kind of spoke to, I think, more of the tone of this one, is that it was more of a just like a personal, it was like very much set up a lot of the characters in the movie, the two, I guess, are two leads sort of, but also it was a bit more of a it was sort of a brawl on the beach type thing, so it kind of had a very more down to earth sort of premise, even though the movie gets crazy sci-fi later, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the Bond things that people, that people love, is like that the music and the that like intro, like
yes,
the
also
intro
kind of a
is
unique
so
thing.
it's so cool. It's so fun. It's like it's I don't know, it feels like such a distinct like Bond thing, but it's also like you can see that lineage in like all kinds of like British like in British movie. I'm trying to think of like, I had a couple in my head. I was like, oh, like that's happened in some other movies. Like or it's like called back in other movies too. Like, I don't know, even in like, I don't know, the Spice Girls movie, Spice World.
Oh,
they do like a thing. There's like, it's such an iconic thing, and it works. It works really well.
I think what's kind of interesting about this one is like the series it's known for that opening sequence, but it's kind of known for it's become even more and more of a thing, but I think it's always kind of been a thing of like the theme song, like of like having a big singer perform like the theme, and this movie, it's slightly different, but I think it speaks to, again, the change sort of does fit what they're trying to get across. Instead of like a big feature on that opening sequence, it's instrumental, but they do have a big guest song later in the movie for like the love montage where they have Louis Armstrong. Is it all the time in the world? Is that the name of the song?
I don't know.
Or it's something like, we have all the time in the world.
Interesting. Okay, and so that was the through line.
I'm actually even looking. So I found a list of the best ones. Just a random site I pulled up, and it has this one at number 11, whatever, classicfm.com. Anyway, they consider that like the theme of the movie, even though it says it's the first one, not the only one, but the first one to not be the title of the movie, but it's also not even in the opening. So yeah, I don't know, it kind of speaks to the movie that they thought like it would be best, like that sort of, I don't know, sort of prestige you have of bringing like someone in, like really got over, like they had to get over that they fall in love in a montage, which can be, I don't know, that can be hard to do. But I think they set it up really well, and then by the time it was done, I was like, yeah, that, like, death scene rushed and weird and all, I could still say like the romance storyline in this was, I think, pretty effective.
Yeah, and I think that Tracy is just such a like I don't know if I want to say like a strong character, but like such a strong presence and like had
Hmm.
such an internal like world. Like, we meet her when she's like trying to kill herself and she says like various things about like he says something and then she's like, well, that only applies to people who want to live or something. And that's like later in the movie.
Mm, yeah.
She's got such like a like rich sort of inner, you know, life and I feel like in that way, like even when Bond's like off, like whatever, having like a sex romp, unbeknownst to her, like it's sort of like not sad. Like she's like she kind of could take or leave Bond, even though they're in love with each other.
Well,
She's
yeah,
so
yeah.
like she just feels so like she's from this big like mob family. She's interesting and beautiful and like depressed and capable. And I don't know, I just felt like them falling in love like really felt like two people falling in love as opposed to like someone being seduced or swept off their feet. Um and I don't know, I mean I'm definitely giving it too much credit for this like montage,
No.
cuz like the montage doesn't like you do that on purpose, I don't think. But like I guess what I mean is I believed that they were into each other and that she was like that they were independently in love, um and the like that like totally worked for me, and I think that worked because she was such a dare I say like well written character. Like
Hmm.
if all of this can come across in like this sort of silly campy movie, I would say that she is a well written character, and she has a
Yeah,
lot of
based on a
depth to
story written
her.
by a nasty little man.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And she has like more depth to her than like Bond does in many ways. Um so I don't know. I think that it worked for me, yeah.
It's funny you say, yeah, I think they had good chemistry, and it's funny because we're trying to read about it. Like, I read completely conflicting things. Like, I had read that they had huge conflicts on the set between each other. But then I also had read, like, that they would joke around and they would, razz each other, and
Mhm.
like, um, she helped carry him through the movie. And even I think I read Lazenby, there was like there's some like story he told about like them like arguing or whatever, and he was sort of like, she was, it was one of those things where he's like, oh, she was like sick and I was like being annoying, and it happens on a movie set, it's not her fault.
Mhm.
So it sounds, I don't know, I think it comes across in the movie. Like I even if you look on like just even on Wikipedia, they talk about they now have a contemporary reviews and then current reviews, and yeah,
Mm.
it does change a lot. For it's like they attribute, it's all, they go from like she's basically carrying the movie on her back or whatever, which is in some regards like true, like she's like kind of the best and key thing of the movie. But then like you see in later reviews where they kind of start to give more credit to George. I'd give him some
Mhm.
credit, but I think they had a good chemistry overall.
Yeah. Yeah, she was very yeah, she was great. She was great. And the other like silly comedy girls,
they were
women,
they
like
were
up they
funny,
were good
yeah.
too. They were like they and those like I remember one of the most distinctive like things that I remember like the shots of the movie was so they're at this like research facility for like allergies, which is just totally like not it's like random.
Yeah.
But it's being used for his like evil plot.
Yes,
Just like
he's making
some but
a vaccine that's really like a
yeah.
virus type thing, yeah.
Uh-huh. And there's like this dinner scene and they're all dressed in these like totally wild like dresses and they're all eating different things that they're like allergic to or were
Yes.
allergic to and like the plates look like equally delicious and fucking gross. Like it's so but it's like beautiful. They have these like overhead quick shots of these like girls in these like lavish outfits like eating potatoes and just pieces of chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so like unnerving. I was like, is this about to become like a horror movie? Like this is like really weird.
The fact that it was
but it was cool.
I liked it. I felt like it sort of like it reminded me the current example, but like they're sort of in this like high tech facility where like they can't even like things can you're like sort of at someone else's whim, they can't even get out of their rooms even though they can. But it sort of reminded me of like an Ex Machina, where he's like visiting Oscar Isaac's place and it's like you can't go anywhere that you're not authorized. You could potentially get locked in a room, and like then sort of the sci-fi element of it, I think, because it's like literally the same time, but like some of the effects and like little bits of like the brainwashing parts or whatever reminded me of kind of like Star Trek in vibe. I thought that was kind of a charming aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, we love like sci-fi stuff. So I kind of was like, when it started to go down that route, I was excited, but I knew it couldn't go that far. I knew it wasn't going to go that far, but it was cool.
Mm-hmm. I guess we kind of already talked about most of them, but I did want to say that too. I did think like this movie overall, like the big like sort of action sequences are all like very cool. It starts off more simple where he's kind of just getting in these sort of like fist fights, which I thought were kind of fun. It does have a fast editing style, and there are times where they like have these very jittery like quick cuts that are both kind of like disorienting but kind of cool. I don't know, it's not as crazy as watching like the Bourne Identity or those type of things that are even more like crazy and hard to read, but this it did kind of like give it sort of a like it's not as clean, you know what I mean? But then some of the actual like big stunts they have later in the movie are pretty cool. I love the car chase scene. I think is one of my favorite action scenes in a Bond movie that I've seen, and I love the skiing and the assault on the facility, which also had some cool. There's it was cool to see that Diana Rigg sort of got in the mix up too, and like they gave her some good spots, and were some of the best parts. And Bond sliding around, and then of course when they're sledding, I don't know. I love all that stuff.
Is cool. Yeah, I really loved and like the avalanche and the skiing and the like. It was
the avalanche was so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the avalanche was tight.
And the dog shows.
That dog, yeah. There's a dog that shows up at the end.
Bond does have some of those one-liners that they do poke fun at in Austin Powers. What does he say when the guy he gets Fargoed, where he falls into the the machine and his blood comes out? That was so awesome. For one,
yeah, he gets Fargoed.
It's not a wood chipper, but
yeah, I watched that on the airplane too. But that like, and Sonic.
I gotta look up the quotes. I guess we can maybe. But yeah, those had some like they definitely were like really goofy. The other fellow one is maybe a little too far, but I think a lot of them kind of I was like fist pumping when he did them,
I loved when he said, "This never happened to the other fellow." I thought that was great.
Okay, and this one was it's so fucking bad, but it was kind of amazing. The guy, the snowblower thing, spits out his blood or whatever, and Bond goes, "He had a lot of guts."
Yes, that one I had almost forgotten until now.
I can't remember what else he said. Oh, Blofeld hits the tree. They all happened in this like part of the movie. When Blofeld slams into the tree, he goes, "He branched off."
Yes, I remember he branched off. That was so sick, though. That was such a great that whole chase scene was so cool.
Yeah. So, and yeah, he tells the dog to go get that brandy, the 5-star Hennessy, of course.
Yes, he says 5-star Hennessy. Like,
Uh,
before you get help, get me some 5-star Hennessy.
so yeah, it did. I like those goofy little one-liners. They were funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, again, I mean, that's part of why, like, we're talking about the like, them trying to get a more emotional performance out of Bond, like, at the end or something. It's like, I don't think they fucking needed to. Like, who cares? Like, it wasn't like I was invested in, especially in Tracy, but, like, Bond is out here with these crazy ass one-liners and being a total freak like the whole movie. So
Mhm.
I didn't feel like I needed a terribly convincing emotional performance at the end.
No, yeah, I guess not. No. Um, I think that's I've said all I wanted to say.
Yeah,
Do you
I
have,
think I've said my piece. I'm looking at I took a little notes to myself. My notes are just like a lot of like, wait, what?
I th-
Like, what am I watching here?
I think overall, because I think we were talking like having a group conversation or something with some people a while back about then the Bond movies came up, and I think it's like I can't I feel like I can't like go too hard for them when people are like I don't like them because they are like these goofy ass movies or whatever. It's but like I sort of I kind of wanted to do it because when we were talking about them, I did have this feeling of like, well, like I don't know, I felt like there's a certain value to them, and like I don't know, with I guess with any movie. Maybe this isn't even really defending the movie's quality very well, but with like these are movies that I feel like are very interesting, and they just like really they both like there's a lot of things going on. There is like they are exciting. They're like some of them are really good and fun, but there's also like an element to them that are just there's just such a like everything about it fascinates me. Like that fact that like
Yeah.
some people would be like, oh, it's like this weird like British fantasy or whatever. I'm like, I like that, even though it's
Yeah.
I think they're like dumb for wanting to do that, but at the same time, the results make something that's so fascinating to me.
Absolutely.
So like all the
Yeah.
weird stuff about it, like I don't know, makes it. I don't know. There's. I think in most all of them, there's something worth getting out of them, even regardless
Yeah.
of the quality. But some I think are also genuinely like kick-ass movies. But and this one included, I actually do really like this one. So
Totally. This movie totally whipped. This movie
it's
totally
a
whipped.
weird,
And
goofy ass movie, but it whips.
I feel like there's like yeah, I think that there's something not only like culturally important about the movies and important like what does that mean? I guess I mean that there's like so many references to like this this franchise and this like style of movie, but on the other hand, I also think that like you said like they're also like pretty historically relevant. They like kind of
Hmm.
hold this mirror up in a way that like, maybe that's giving them more credit than they deserve, but I do feel like that is part of the like history of these films.
Oh
And I kind of
yeah,
think that's why people like them. It's like they like hold a mirror up in this to like the Cold War in this like really um genuine goofy campy way that is like it's they're sort of
yeah,
important, I think.
and that like, and yeah, just seeing how history like beyond the Cold War even has shaped them and changed them, and like how they reflect the time. It's something I feel like I've mentioned this before, but it's something I like about like the Rambo movies because they all are in sort of this way like sort of like propaganda movies. They're I think most of them, if not all of them, actually, and some are like actually each kind of have their own basis of different like right wing, more conspiracy theories, I guess, or whatever. They all are. What's so unique is that they each have their own that they sort of play off of, and I kind of love it because it's so interesting. But they also are kind of sick movies. But so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I think
I'm
about
glad-
Bond is, oh man, I just smacked my hand as hard as I could on my desk.
That's what I think about fucking James Bond.
No, but yeah, like even like especially after the Cold War has ended, like the fact that they are like they've had to sort of I don't know, grapple with that and like what's going on. I don't know. It's all
It's
cool
like
to
that
me.
scene. That's what Judi Dench says in that one. I don't know, one of the ones where she's like, I think that you're a piece of shit, and I think that you're like a
that's in
dinosaur and a
GoldenEye
relic.
or whatever.
Yeah, a relic of the Cold War. Like it's like sort of grappling a little bit with like what James Bond is without being like totally too deep.
Yeah,
like,
because when you
while
watch
still
it,
being
he's
kinda
still
cheeky,
still the same. It's like the same fucking guy, and like the
Yeah.
the movie doesn't fully actually care.
But
but
it
yeah.
like just is like just a nod to like this like really weird legacy. It's very cool, and I love Judi Dench, so she can sort of do no wrong.
She's
for me.
cool. Yeah. A lot of great actors in the series over the years. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. This is a great episode. A lot of fun. Glad we could have McKenna drop in.
Yeah, when McKenna's around, we gotta have like the McKenna spotlight to see what like the review, a thumbs up, thumbs down review from McKenna.
We gotta tie. I guess. Did you pick a movie to do next?
I did. Okay, so I did pick a movie. Now,
all right.
now if you've seen it, I'll pick a different. Or you can watch it. This is
Okay.
this is a new movie. It came out this year or last year.
Ooh.
And it's a movie that I've been wanting to see, but I haven't seen. I saw one preview for it, and I was like, that looks like that has potential to be fucking sick. And then it also, it has these really strange ads on the subway that they like haven't taken down.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Well,
continue.
I don't. No, maybe you've seen it. It's called The Five Devils. Have you seen this movie?
No. Okay. No. I couldn't remember what movie I was thinking of, but this was not it. I thought
It's called The Five Devils, and I believe that it's French.
I don't even know what this is.
And it's kind of a I don't. It's like kind of maybe. It says that it's a drama / fantasy, but I think maybe a little bit of horror. I'm not totally sure. And it has Adele Exarchopoulos, I believe. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. She was the principal in Blue is the Warmest Color.
Okay.
And she's been in a couple other French films. And I'm using this as an excuse to watch a movie that like I probably would forget about or not ever see. But I want to see. But I want to watch it.
Okay, we both now get to use the show for like an ulterior motive. Not really ulterior. I guess every episode it's like we want to do it because we want to see the movie for some reason. But
yeah, so I was gonna say I think
podcast.
this is like totally kosher. I think
mine's even worse. But
so yeah, that's what I would like to pick. Although it is like a bit of. It's a bit of not a departure, but I wanted to see a horror movie. And then I was like looking up horror movies and I was like, I don't know. I feel like the ones that I would like to watch are ones that are pretty like classic, which is not a problem, but it's like, do I really want to like, I don't know. Is it time to do like, I don't know, It or something? Like, I just kind of wanted to,
yeah.
I might be watching that on my own time. And I feel like you've probably seen a lot more of those than I have.
Well, we did a movie today I'd seen before, but
that's true.
We've done plenty we've seen before, so I'm not opposed. But
that's true.
This seems like a great pick, and I think it's kind of cool because I think we've done a few new movies. We've done Carter,
Pandora. I mean, Avatar. God, I'm a grandma. I just called it Pandora.
Pandora.
God,
That is such a grandma thing. It'd be like it's like calling a GameCube an Xbox or whatever.
calling Link Zelda.
Yeah, but that's it. Those are the only new ones. So yeah, I think we need. Oh no, fuck, we did RRR as well, the best movie of the year. Actually, we did 3 movies.
Fucking whipped.
We did 0 new movies though in 2023. So
whoa, see, okay. Well, we got to kick it up for 2024 in January.
All right, sweet.
Now, I don't know if I want to tell you. I'll tell you about it I'll tell you what this strange. Actually, I'll tell you now. This strange ad on the subway.
Oh yeah.
Just has like a picture of the like. I don't know, just sort of a random still, and then the like blurb says, "An excellent film. ... Like a bisexual Back to the Future!" Exclamation point.
What?
which is not at all what the movie looks like, and that like kind of made me not want to see it, and then it kind of made me want to see it even more because I was like, what on earth could this even like? What does that mean to say that it's a bisexual Back to the Future?
What if it was just it had bisexual lighting, but it's just like it's a direct shot for shot remake, but they just added the lighting.
Oh god. So anyway, I don't know what that means, and it's certainly not a spoiler, I guess. I'll say that. So I
feel
don't
like
know
I've heard
what that could mean.
Have you told me about this? I feel like I've heard that statement before in my life, but I feel like you don't often hear.
I don't. I mean, if something else has been described as a bisexual Back to the Future, then I don't. I mean, maybe I had told you about this, but I feel like you would have remembered specifically like the movie.
No, yeah, maybe I heard it on like a pod. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I'm stoked. It sounds great.
All right, sweet.
I mean, I like Back to the Future, and you know,
I like bisexuals. Yeah, let's do this.
Match made in heaven, sure.
All right. Well,
great up.
This has been super fun and very Christmassy. And,
yeah. Oh, by the way, some of the music, there's some like Christmas music playing in the background when they're at the resort towards the end when she finds him again, I believe, and some of it's like original for the movie.
Really?
Like, yeah. I forgot who wrote it, but I remember because there was a one song playing. I'm like, this is not a Christmas song I've ever heard, but it had like lyrics and everything, and I was like, is this a Swiss thing? Is it a British thing? And then I can't remember. I had been reading about it, and I've done a lot of this episode of I think I read this, but I had read that some of these some of those songs were written for the movie.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's like there are some movies that have like Christmas songs. I'm thinking of Love Actually, which has the Christmas song that is written in like for the movie.
Yeah.
And also About a Boy, there's a Christmas song. Another British movie that has a British Christmas song written for it for the movie. That is one of my favorite movies growing up, actually, About a Boy.
About a Boy. Okay. Well, let's do that one.
We should do that one sometime, yeah. I mean, you know what? I think it might. I think it might whip. We should do that one sometime.
All right, we're in the goodbye part, but the the Danish singer Nina, who's also in the movie The Long Goodbye, which I highly recommend. But anyway, she performed. They had written 2 songs that she performed called "Do You Know How Christmas Trees Are Grown?" And
that is a terrible title of a song.
That's the one I think I heard. Yeah, and they released it as a single. And then The More Things Change, I think, is the other one. So how about that? Anyway, Yeah.
Well, I gotta find. Do you know how Christmas trees
Oh,
are?
we're gonna listen to it right when we're done here.
If I could find it, then the whole audience will also listen to it on the way out.
I got it. Okay. Well, let's go and listen to this song. Okay.
All right, stay cool,
Stay
everyone.
cool.
Do you know how Christmas trees are grown? They need sunshine. Sunshine can't grow Christmas trees alone. They need raindrops. Raindrops can't grow Christmas trees. Here's the reason why. In the winter rain